Today I'm going to start my video game character discussion series by discussing one of my favorite characters of all time, Craig Boone from Fallout New Vegas. Now I'm going to start this video with a serious disclaimer. If you have not played Fallout New Vegas and you plan to at some point, I recommend that you stop this video because it's going to include some serious spoilers for the Fallout storyline and for Craig Boone's personal storyline. Now, that being said, I am very excited about discussing Craig Boone. I'm just excited about doing this series in general because I try to just remain as detached and neutral as possible when I'm doing my reviews. At least now I am. I started out kind of putting my own thoughts in it, and I usually do, but I want to kind of have every perspective in mind when I'm doing my reviews. But for these character discussions, I'm just going to nerd out and tell you guys about my analysis of these characters. I'm an English major, if you haven't realized that yet, or if I didn't make that clear. I love analyzing great characters. I have a passion for great storylines, and characters in general are what I really enjoy about literature. And what I enjoy writing is, when I write, I typically create a character and sort of shape a story around it, because the people in the story should be kind of the center of the story. And Craig Boone, he made Fallout New Vegas so enjoyable for me. I met him fairly early along. He is the night shift sniper of Novak, and when I met him in the main quest line, on my way through the main quest line, I just immediately was attracted to his character. The fact that he is very layered and very complex. There's just a lot of, like I said, complexity to his character, and you could very well observe him just for hours and hours because there's so much about him. He's so dynamic. Two things that I love about the character. First of all, great writing. As I said, they really stick to some of the basic writing rules that are pertinent to any type of story. And one of those rules is you must always know what your character wants. That has to completely shape the character. It has to shape their actions. And Craig Boone, he is a sympathetic character that is hiding behind, he has this shell that he has to kind of keep people out so that he can't get hurt, because he is such an empathetic character. And I'll explain that more later on. But what he wants is really, what's most important to him is justice. And what's most important to him is morality, and that is really evident as you get to know him more and more throughout this story. The voice acting is also incredible. He is voiced by Jason Marston, I believe it is, and this voice actor, he's done a lot. He is also in, the Goofy movie, I think, and he's in Spirited Away, I believe. He did a fantastic job of appearing detached from his emotions, but still giving hints of emotions in his voice, and he did a great job of just having that complexity to the way he speaks. He speaks very softly and, as I said, detached, trying very hard to stay disconnected from his emotions, but at the same time there's just hints there here and there that Jason did so incredibly well of just, you see emotion just peek at the surface. When you first meet him in Novak, he asks you to do a quest for him. It starts One for My Baby, the personal quest line that you do in order to get him as a follower. And he asks you to find out who in the town sold his wife into slavery by the Legion. And you later find out that it's Manny Vargas, who is this really apparently sweet old lady in the town. It was very surprising, but he has you lead her in front of the dinosaur building that he has his night shifts in, and snipes her down. And that didn't bother me one bit because of what she did. I mean, it was just a matter of justice for me. She got hers, basically. But When you first meet Boone and when you try to discuss with him, he is obviously very untrusting. He has a lot of walls, but I don't think he he is entirely withdrawn. I just pictured it as him doing a very bad job of concealing his emotions, because no one can truly do that. I've yet to see someone that has been able to do that in a successful way, because our tendency as human beings is to want to share and to want to communicate with people, and Boone is a great example of that. Another writing rule that they stuck by in writing this character is the rule that you cannot force someone to like a character. You can never do that. There will always be characters that are more liked, but some people will dislike the character regardless. And they were very aware of this. They didn't try to make you like Boone at any point. They definitely put out the facts about his life so that you sympathize with him, but at the same time, you can always choose whether or not to sympathize with him. He never tells you to sympathize with him. In fact, that goes against the way that Boone's character, he's not advertising himself at any point, because the fact of the matter is he's more concerned with the safety of others than the safety of himself. It's partly self-detrimental, but part of it is his deep empathy for human beings. As I said, he is very preoccupied with vengeance from the get-go, and I think this is his weakness, is his desire for vengeance. I think it's misplaced morality, a misplaced need for what's the word I'm looking for? It's a misplaced desire for justice, and he thinks that this vengeance, it'll almost kind of quell his anger, but for what happened to his wife. But at the same time, I mean he definitely is right in trying to track down legionaries and kill them, which I had no problem doing along with him. But a very wise person once told me that anger and bitterness towards someone is like drinking poison that you would tend for someone else. So it's not that he's doing the wrong thing, he's really just kind of doing it for the wrong reasons, or he thinks he's doing it for the wrong reasons. It's a matter of the heart. And so he's not a cold-hearted killer, he's not a bad man, he just wants to kill legionaries out of a sense of justice, but there is anger attached to it that he needs to deal with. As I said, he's a very moral character. Discipline is he's the poster child of the NCR. He's what every NCR should be, honestly. Discipline and sympathy and respect are so much a part of him that I can only imagine. I mean, he might seem like a stark character at first, like the ideal NCR who struggled with post-traumatic stress, and someone could label him as a stark character. He is not a stark character. He's not the NCR, but he found NCR and he realized that it was where he belonged, because he is what NCR should look like. Because the NCR was basically founded on the ideals of wanting to protect and bring order to New Vegas. Unfortunately, I followed him and started siding with the NCR because I believed what he said, and I believed that the NCR would have the amount of morality that he does. Unfortunately, that's not true. The NCR has its fair share of corruption, just like any other faction in New Vegas. There is a lot of immorality and desire for power in every faction, and I almost wish I had steered more towards a independent New Vegas, but I'll probably do that in another playthrough. But if every NCR soldier looked like him, if the leaders of NCR looked like him, the NCR would be so much better. It would be so much better for it. Another thing about him, as I said, immorality is so much a part of him. He's very much paragon, if you will mind me using that word. He believes in karma, not in the form of good, bad karma in the New Vegas or Fallout sense, where, you know, you do a good thing, get some bad karma points, and you have a bad reputation. He believes in, you know, what goes around comes around. If you do something bad, it'll come back to bite you. If you do something good, it'll come back to bite you. And I think that definitely contributes to his overall belief in justice, and the belief in it, that justice is important and that it will truly be served to people. And this is evident when he says things like, "Oh, I'll get mine. What happened to Carla was just because I'm such an evil person." He's definitely hates himself for what's happened in the past, and I definitely need to explain that. You know, hopefully you've already played the game, but as you get to know him, you know, all these layers start to peel back. You realize that, I mean, I thought this was fairly obvious just from my own knowledge of how people work from the get-go, that he had a lot of trauma in his life, and all of this, you know, reclusion is really just a defense mechanism. And when you get to know him further and you earned his trust by doing quests for him, he tells you that he actually tracked down Carla once he found out that she was sold to the Legion, and the Legion was selling her, and he was completely surrounded by legionaries, and she was there being sold, and he realized that he only had his rifle, and she was either going to be sold into slavery for the rest of her life, into sex slavery, to be more specific, which is horrific. The legionaries consider women as cattle. That's the only purpose that women serve to the Legion, and I think it's pretty strange that you can actually follow the Legion as a female character, and they'll kind of comment on it every once in a while if you do. You know, say things like, wow, a woman's good for more than cooking a few meals and, you know, screwing around. It's just like, they're living in a prehistoric mindset. But he finds his wife and realizes that she is going to experience horror for the rest of her life. There's no way he can follow her, and all these legionaries are surrounding her, and he decides that the only way to get her out of the situation is through a mercy killing, and he takes the shot and murders her so that she won't be sold into slavery. And it's most important to know that mercy killing is a part of the NCR. Actually, NCR soldiers will do it when they find their fellow soldiers in a situation that, you know, they're near death, or they're being brutally murdered by the Legion. If it's a last method type thing that NCR do to basically resolve a do or die situation. And so it's important to understand that it is a part of the NCR life. It's part of resolving conflict for the NCR. And but it was no less more difficult for him to do. And I mean, when I read that, my jaw just, when I heard him say that, I mean, just imagine if it was the person that you loved the most and you had to shoot them in order for them to not be sold into sex slavery for the rest of their life, which is the worst type of slavery imaginable, the most degrading and just I mean, if you know anything about human trafficking, it's something that really bothers me. The people that are in this, they are so broken down to the point where they have no identity whatsoever, and he either was going to have to accept that was going to be the rest of her life, which is no life at all, or he was going to kill her. And you know, when he says it, he's, you know, still guarded, and he tries to keep as little emotion in his voice as possible, and you can just tell that it still bothers him, because he explains that Carla was the only one that could make him forget all of the horrors he experienced being in the NCR, which I'll explain in a second. And I'm going to apologize. This discussion is not going to be brief. I'm going to go on for a little bit longer, but hopefully you're still listening. When you experience like trauma, just like it's like your brain reacts. I mean, when you touch a hot stove or something to that manner, like you lift your hand up because it's an instant reaction. It's your body telling you to stop getting hurt, and your mind does the same crazy things in order to avoid pain. The only thing I can compare this to is when I was in a car accident when I was a kid. I was just terrified of ever being in a car ever again. I would, every time I was in a car, my muscles would tense. I would think very, very rapidly. I would consider everything around me, and every time still when I drive, I kind of drive this way too. I'm very concerned about everything that's going on around me. Very, I always have in my head, oh, I need to be aware of what this person's doing, because I want to avoid a crash in any way possible. And Boone, he not only did he lose Carla, but he had to lose so many people and see so much death being in the NCR that something in his brain told him to completely shut off, to completely be untrusting, to be withdrawn, because that was how he would defend himself. It was a healing mechanism for him to be so distant. And so if you think at first that Boone's a dick, if you think at first that Boone is an uncaring asshole, he's not. He is, it's just a defense mechanism. And when you finally earn his trust and he opens up to you and tells you this, which I love. I didn't mention that the game itself supports this great story, and the game itself, the way it was designed, is also complimentary of Boone as a character because of the way the side quest works, the way his dialogue reacts to things that you do throughout the game. I actually began to take down legionaries with him because morality is a big part of any RPG I play. I always play as the good character. Sometimes I'll play as bad just to see how it is, but I always cringe at every decision that I make. I began to take down legionaries with him, and very early on in the game, don't ask me how, it was kind of suicidal, I decided to take down Caesar with him. And if you take down Caesar, it's just incredible. He shoots him and he just says, "Thumbs down, you son of a bitch," and it's just a great moment. And afterwards he'll talk to you and it'll open up some more dialogue options with him. But once you earn his trust, go further and murder some more legionaries, go further in the NCR storyline. You can begin the quest Forgot to Remember to Forget, which is his personal side quest that actually gives him a awesome armor at the end that protects him against damage. I think that's what you get from it. But anyways, he explains how he took out a great Khan encampment. This was what made him decide to leave the NCR. It was in Bitter Springs, and he was ordered to shoot everyone on sight. And there wasn't only hostiles in this encampment. Everyone that was coming towards him wasn't just hostiles. There was elderly, there was children, there was weak, and he had to shoot them all down. And this also explains why he keeps saying these things like, "Oh, I'm gonna get mine." Carla. He believes Carla died because of what he did, even though he had to follow his orders. And I need to wrap this up. I'm spending a little too much time on this, but the point of this is often a hero has to either experience catharsis or they have to die and sacrifice themselves to achieve that restoration that they need. And that can be a form of catharsis or restoration or healing, whatever you want to call it. But what I love is, the point is, a character does not have to sacrifice themselves in order to be restored or to restore everything into balance. Well, all he needed to do was to take out those legionaries in the Great Khan encampment, where he first experienced the massacre at Bitter Springs, and realize that he can move on and he can forgive himself, that he is not a bad person, and you see his view of himself begin to change. And what I love about it is, at the end, if you side with the NCR, he eventually joins back with his crew in the NCR, and spends his days taking down legionaries and taking down slavers. So he understood at the end that justice was what he wanted. And that is the key, what he wants, what a character wants. What he wanted was justice. And he was able to overcome his self-hatred and accept what his destiny was, which is to take down legionaries and to try to seek out justice. It's just a great character that I just really relate to and enjoy. And I just talking about him, I almost want to go back and play the game again. But as always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you've played Fallout New Vegas, I'd love to hear who your favorite character was. As always, I should go.
Just make it one for my baby, and one more for the road.
I'd really like my beret back, please.